we keep hearing that critical race theory isn't being taught in schools. This is what we heard in Virginia. This is the case that Terry McAuliffe makes. This is what the media keeps saying. Critical race theory. Sometimes they say it doesn't exist. It's a boogeyman invented by the right, which is a problem because there have been actual books written with critical race theory in the title by the people who came up with this theory and are promoting it. But even if it exists, what we're told is it's not taught in schools. And the thing is, that's true in a certain way. It's true, but it's sometimes you can lie while telling the truth. You can tell the truth in a way that is intentionally misleading. And here we have a public school teacher in Indiana explaining what it really means when they say that critical race theory isn't taught in schools. Let's listen to that.
I'm the science coach and admin in the largest public school district in Indiana. I'm in dozens of classrooms a week, so I see exactly what we're teaching our students. When we tell you that schools aren't teaching critical race theory, that it's nowhere in our standards, that's misdirection. We don't have the quotes and theories as state standards per se. We do have critical race theory in how we teach. We tell our teachers to treat students differently based on color. We tell our students that every problem is a result of white men, and that everything Western civilization built is racist. Capitalism as a tool of white supremacy. Those are straight out of Kimberly Crenshaw's main points, verbatim in Critical Race Theory, the writings that formed the movement. This is in math, history, science, English, the arts, and it's not slowing down. If students of color have lower reading scores, it's because of inequity. Therefore, we take from the white students and give to the color students. That's Richard Delgado, straight out of CRT and Introduction. All teaching is political, with reality and facts taking the back seat. That's Dr. Gloria Ladson-Billings, who outlined how she saw critical race theory fleshed out in public schools in 1995. When schools tell you that we aren't teaching critical race theory, it means one thing. Go away and look into our affairs no further. It isn't about transparency, it isn't about cultural relevance. It's race essentialism, painted to look like the district cares about students of color. We call it anti-racism, so you feel bad if you disagree with our segregationist pedagogy. It's taking advantage of kids' vulnerability and parents' inactivity to preen over social snake oil schemes designed to create division. Parents, when we tell you critical race theory isn't taught in our schools, we're lying. Keep looking.
Well, he lays it out right there, and that's like it's just like if they claimed, when we say that the public schools are leftist and that there's leftism, in the broadest sense in the public school system. Well, they could say, well, we don't teach leftism. Look at our curriculum. Nowhere does it say the term leftist or leftism. Oh, you silly parents. What, you think your kid is going to a leftism 101 class? No, that's obviously not what's happening. In fact, I wouldn't object to that necessarily. I mean, in theory, I wouldn't object to that. To having a class on the subject of modern day leftism. I wouldn't even necessarily, in theory, object to a class on critical race theory because I think it is something that, unfortunately, our kids need to know about. Now, I wouldn't trust the average public school teacher to teach it, but kids are going to get to a certain age where you do have to teach them about this. It's a good thing to teach them about it, about the subject, just like they should learn about Marxism and communism. You want them to learn about those things. It's the people who are trying to indoctrinate kids into these worldviews that don't want the kids taught about the worldview. And that should tell you what you need to know. But that's not what's happening. So treating these things as a subject and saying, here's this worldview that exists, here's this idea, this system of thought, here's what it teaches. There you go, presenting the information. That could be a good thing. I mean, all of the most insidious worldviews, the wider spread that they are, the more that I think we need to, it's good for us to know what they are and be taught about them. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is much, much worse than that, as the teacher just explained. Instead, it's the assumptions of critical race theory are embedded into everything the kids are taught. So this is a big, this is a red herring. This is misdirection. It's the sleight of hand trick where they hand you the curriculum and they say, see, look at the curriculum. You'll say, nowhere on this curriculum does it say critical race theory. Yeah, it's not being taught. What they fail to mention is that in every single one of those subjects on that curriculum, all of those subjects are built around and upon the assumptions of critical race theory. That white people are inherently racist, that all of our historical ills and all the historical evils are all the result of white people and Western expansion. That it's not even possible to be racist against white people because racism equals is whatever prejudice plus power. Kids are taught all of that. Well, where else are they getting this stuff from? Yeah, they're getting it from the media, they're getting it from social media, from the internet, but they're getting it from a lot of places, but they're certainly getting it from the schools as well. And the fact that they are told these things and yet are not told that this is critical race theory, that's precisely the problem. Again, I would have no problem in theory with a kid being told, hey, there's this thing called critical race theory, and according to critical race theory, what critical race theory teaches is that if you're white, you're inherently racist. And that if a black person comes up to you and says they hate you because you're white, you are not a victim of racism because they can't be racist against you. That's what critical race theory teaches. That's a good thing for people to be told because then they can say, oh, well, okay, well, so that's a theory I don't ascribe to. It sounds like a pretty horrible theory. Remember the word theory, it's also important to remember the word theory when used in a scientific context, it doesn't just mean a hypothesis or a guess. A theory, like the quote unquote theory of gravity, right? It's a system for explaining what you see in the physical world. That's what a theory is in science. We talk about the theory of evolution, right? Or the germ theory of disease. It's a system for explaining and understanding what you're observing in the physical world. Critical race theory positions itself as a theory in that way. It's a system of explaining and understanding not what we see in the physical world, but what we see in human society. But it's a bad system. It's an evil system. It's a sinister system. Hey, listen, hit the subscribe button. Do it right now. I demand it. And I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.